All right, so here's your Quiz 11 study guide. And problem number 1. If MNO is congruent to PQR, which of the following can you not conclude? So on your paper, maybe write MNO congruent PQR. Which of the following can you not conclude as being true? A, right? Because MN, the first two vertices, congruent to PR, first and last. This is not true, is it? That's false. Okay? But if we look at M is congruent to P, M is first, P is first. So that's true. NO congruent to QR. NO is second and third, QR is second and third. That's true. N is congruent to Q. N and Q are both in the middle of their descriptions, so that's true. All right, so the statement that's not true is A. All right, which congruent statement does not necessarily describe the triangle shown? You do not need the triangles for this problem, because what they've done is they've taken this congruent statement. They've taken DEF is congruent to FGH. And what they've done is they've rewritten it 4 different times as your answer choices. You're looking for the statement that they wrote incorrectly. So answer choice A says that EDF, all right, EDF, they went EDF, so they went middle, first, third, or they went second, first, third in the order of their vertices. So if they went EDF, if they went second, first, third, then in the second description, they got to go second, first, third. And they did that, didn't they? FGH. So this one's true. And answer choice B, FDE. So instead of going DEF, they went third, first, second. So they went third, first, second. And then in their second description, FGH, they kept them in order 1, 2, 3. So are those two congruent? No. All right, let's just look at these last two. EFH. So they went second. EFD, they went second, third, first. And in the second description, they went GHF. GHF is second, third, first. So those two are congruent. And then they went FED. So FED, they went third, second, first. They just reversed the order. And then they went HGF, which was 3, 2, 1 again. So these are true. So answer choice B was the statement that's not congruent. And when I'm putting these numbers on here, I'm talking about the order in relation to the original description. This was first, second, third, and this is first, second, third. Problem number 3. If BCDE is congruent to OPQR, then DE is congruent to QR. Good. All right, the order of the vertices is what determines what is or is not congruent to each other. All right, Problem number 4, ABC is congruent to. So I'm going to rewrite this, ABC. Congruent to. If we look at triangle ABC, and I'm looking at arc marks, how many arc marks does vertex A have? 3. And B has, and C has, A has 3, B has 1, and C has 2. So we have to order the second triangle the same way in relation to arc marks. So M goes first because it has 3 arc marks. All right, N goes second because it has 1 arc mark. And there's only one vertex left, and that's P because it has 2 arc marks. All right, so again, in relation to arc marks, we had 3, 1, and 2. So those are your congruent triangles. All right, in problem number 5, triangle QRS is congruent to triangle TUV. QRS is congruent to TUV. They tell you that QS is 3V plus 2. Well, QS is the first and last letter in the description, right? T to V is 7V minus 6. T and V are the first and last vertices in the description. So 3V plus 2 is equal to 7V minus 6. The two sides are congruent, so let's solve for V. Two is equal to 4V minus 6, and we can add 6. 8 is equal to 4V, and then divide by 4. So 2 is equal to V. And we need to find the length of QS and TV. So QS is equal to 3 times 2 plus 2. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. And TV is equal to 7 times 2 minus 6. And 14 minus 6 is 8. And by inserting or substituting your value of V into both of these expressions, you're double checking your work. Meaning, if you get 8 or if you get the same length for both sides, then your math was correct. Problem number 6 is the same concept, but they're talking about angle measures because they're only using the vertex. So ABC is congruent to PQR. Angle B equals 3V plus 4. So B is the middle letter in the description. Q is equal to 8V minus 6. Q is the middle letter in the description. So the angles are equal to each other, aren't they? So our equation is going to be 3V plus 4 is equal to 8V minus 6. Subtract 3V from each side. 4 equals 5V minus 6. Add 6. And 10 equals 5V. Divide both sides by 5. And 2 is equal to V. So we're going to go back and substitute. The measure of angle B is equal to 3 times 2 plus 4. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10. And the measure of angle Q is equal to 8 times 2 minus 6. 8 times 2 is 16, minus 6 is 10. So there's your two angle measures. All right, in problem number 7, you are told that ABCD, quadrilateral on the left, ABCD, is congruent to EFGH. You're told that the measure of angle B is equal to the measure of angle BCD. So angle B is right down here. And it's equal to the measure of angle BCD, which equals 90. So what they're saying is that angle B equals 90 and angle BCD equals 90. The measure of angle BAD is 131. So BAD, this angle right in here is 131 degrees. You need to find the measure of angle GHE. And GHE is this angle up here. It's this angle H. And angle H is the third letter or the fourth letter in the description. And the fourth letter in the first description is angle D. So H and D are congruent. Agreed? Angle H and angle D are congruent, and you're trying to find angle H. So we've got a quadrilateral. The sum of the angles of a quadrilateral is 360. The sum of the angles of a quadrilateral are 360. So we're going to say that the measure of angle D is equal to 360 minus the 131 minus angle B, which is 90, minus angle C, which is 90. $49 degrees. So the measure of this angle D in here is 49 degrees. And we said that D and H are congruent because they both hold the same position in the congruent statement. So if angle D is 49 degrees, then angle H is also 49 degrees. So your measure of angle GHE is equal to 49 degrees. Problem number 8. Problem number 8, you don't even need to look at the picture, okay? Name the angle included by the sides PN and NM. What's the included angle? PN and NM. Don't you use one letter to describe an angle? What's the only letter in both descriptions? N. Name the angle included by the sides PN and NM. Angle N. No picture required. All right, problem number 9. What other information do you need in order to prove the triangle is congruent using side angle side congruence? Side angle side congruence. Look what we've got. We got a triangle on the left, ABC. And then we got a triangle on the right. They're actually touching, but I'm going to draw them not touching. This is triangle ACD. And CD is congruent to BC. We need side angle side. Isn't side AC in both triangles? So isn't AC congruent to AC? All right, so side angle side means a side, an included angle, and a side. So don't we need this angle right here? We need angle BCA and angle DCA. We need that angle measure. Agreed? Now, what if you were told AC is perpendicular to BD? Because this is going to be multiple choice question tomorrow. All right? What other information do you need? If you were told AC is perpendicular to BD, what does that mean? What does perpendicular mean? Does it mean that they intersect at 90 degrees? Okay. And if they intersect at 90 degrees and one of these angles is 90, what's the one on the other side? 90. Do we now have side angle side? If these are both 90-degree angles because AC is perpendicular to BD, doesn't that give us enough information for side angle side? It tells us that BCA is 90 and DCA is 90. So you need the measure of those two angles, but you can be given that dimension or that measure indirectly by this statement right here. Okay, so be on the lookout. Problem number 10, state whether ABC and AED are congruent. Justify your answer. Triangle ABC, it's right over here on the left. A, B, C. Is it congruent to triangle AED? Well, A to B is 7, isn't it? And A to E is 7. B to C is congruent to E to D. And then CA is congruent to DA. So are the triangles congruent? Yes. Justify your answer by, don't we have 3 sides of one triangle congruent to 3 sides of another triangle? So yes, by side, 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 and what else? Don't we have this side that's 7, an included angle, and 1 tick mark, congruent to 7, 1 angle, and a 1 tick mark? So these triangles are congruent for 2 reasons, side, 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 and side angle side. Problem number 11 says in an A-frame house, two congruent sides. So look, here's an A-frame house. This is the ground. An A-frame house just looks like this. A-frame house, the two congruent sides extend from the ground. So here's our two congruent sides. This is the ground. To form a 34-degree angle at the peak. Here's the peak. This is 34 degrees. What angle does each side form with the ground? So we're looking for this. And since these two sides are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent. So what's the sum of the angles in a triangle? Good. These three angles need to sum 180. So 2x plus 34 equals 180. So let's solve for x. That's 146. And we'll divide by 2. And our x equals 73. So each side, what angle does each side form with the ground? That's 34 degrees. No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's 73 degrees. All right, number 12. Very confusing looking picture, isn't it? Don't look at it. What common side do these two triangles have? Don't you describe a side with two vertices? You're going to ask yourself what two vertices are in both descriptions. DB, right? What common side do the two triangles have? They both have a D and a B in them. So they share DB. Side DB. Again, confusing picture because you got overlapping triangles. What common angle do CDG and FCE share? They both have a C in them. And you can describe the angle with just the letter C. So angle C. Okay, if PQR is congruent to TSR, what are the congruent corresponding parts? You don't need to look at the picture, do you? Or I'm telling you, you don't need to look at the picture. What are the congruent corresponding parts? That's the angles and sides. So what's P congruent to? Good. And Q is congruent to. And R is congruent to. R is congruent to R. Good. There's your angles. Now you need to describe your congruent sides. So I'm going to use first two letters in the description. PQ is congruent to TS. Then I'm going to use the second and third letter in each description. QR is congruent to SR. And then I'm going to use the first and third letter in each description. So PR is congruent to TR. All right, so what are the congruent corresponding parts? Here's your angles. And here's your sides. Using the order of the letters, the order of the vertices in the congruent statement. You don't need to look at the picture. Any questions? That concludes your study guide for quiz 11. Now,